Good day. June is Youth Month. We're celebrating the reality of having lots and lots of young people in this country. And the reality is sometimes a daunting one. Some people might argue that the youth of South Africa is in a crisis. We have lots of young people. They are facing the challenges of high levels of unemployment. They have to deal with the reality of the so-called Fourth Industrial Revolution. And as I said, one could argue that young people are in trouble. What we want to do today, Doris and I, we can have a conversation about some of the numbers regarding how many young people there are, but then also, over and above just highlighting the challenges, also looking at how one might convert some of these challenges and risks into a future for young people and therefore a future for the country that is a more desirable one. So Doris, let's talk about numbers first of all. What are we talking about? What do projections tell us about the number of young people in this country?
The latest UN projections show what I think is quite an interesting but positive trend for us. Up to now, we had a very steep incline in the trajectories of 0 to 19 and 20 to 34 age groups. Mm-hmm. But at the moment...
You mean rapid growth?
Rapid growth. We saw that graph just going up and up. And the practical effect of that was that we had to play catch up all the time. We had to try and build more schools, generate more stuff for them to have access to. And what the projections show is a plateau in both of those age groups. And the positive news there for me is we're going to be able to at least don't play catch up anymore, but at least better be in a position to provide for their needs.
Although it doesn't mean, of course, that those who are currently young, when they reach the age of 35 and beyond, one would hope that they are properly educated and skilled. In terms of right now, it is said that roughly 40% of our population is younger than 20. That's roughly 22 million people in this country, younger than 20, which means they've been born, since 1996 roughly. So a large proportion with no first-hand knowledge of pre-1994 South Africa. We know about our education challenges in the country. We know that, as I said earlier, that part of the challenge is gearing up or preparing for this Fourth Industrial Revolution. And we know that for young people aged 15 to 29, the unemployment rate is close to 50%.
Yeah.
We also have an estimated 3 million NEETs. NEET stands for not in employment, education or training between the age of 15 and 29. There seems to be this kind of gap, and young people are probably getting very upset and resentful. Yeah. So the big question is, you mentioned one positive, what are some more positives we can start looking at with regard to young people? And inevitably, people talk about the so-called demographic dividend. Let's talk about that. Maybe just for our viewers, a quick description of what it means, and we can talk about the implications. So demographic dividend is said to be that situation where the growth in the number of people of working age is faster than the growth in the rest of the population, implying relatively fewer dependents. Let's take it from there.
I think a number of trends is working together to enable our young people to access better opportunities. The young people of today come mobile educated, mobile enabled, because most of the young people have mobile devices and they know how to work with it. Technology is such that to be able to educate somebody via a video clip and that type of thing is getting to be more and more possible. And our data coverage, data is still expensive in South Africa, but there's a number of issues to provide free Wi-Fi in public spaces. I think right now, young, uneducated or unemployed people that are seeking to better themselves in a vast number of skills actually have the opportunity. Not all of them know how to access it or that it exists, so I think there's a gap to at least introduce people, because they know very well how to find their favorite influencers' YouTube video, but they might not be able to access the ones that would better their skills or anything like that, which I think put them in a position where they can actually develop. And we also do have a number of skills development initiatives. Large corporates are designing beautiful programs. I'm hopeful.
Yeah, I was going to say, you know, the eternal question is who or what is responsible for ensuring that the demographic dividend becomes indeed a dividend, not a demographic disaster. And inevitably people point fingers at the government. I think we need to realize that business has an equally important role to play. In addition to that, I think, you know, if we think globally, the fastest growing kind of employment is self-employment, entrepreneurship. And I would suggest, strongly hope, that we stop just paying lip service to the idea of entrepreneurship, but actively encourage it. And actively encourage it at all walks of life, at all levels of society. Because I'm afraid young people anywhere in the world need to realize that no one owes them a job.
Exactly.
And it's up to people, young or old, to create their own opportunities. But then they need the right enabling environment, ranging from access to a bit of seed money, a favorable institutional environment, etc. But I think everyone would agree the challenges are big. If we fail to properly educate and train and enable lots and lots of young people to be equipped for the new world we're looking at, we might face the prospect of a social disaster. And then older people like me must be aware of the fact that many young people are getting rather resentful about the fact that as many people age, they want to cling on to their jobs because they have to. And in that way, perhaps keeping young people out of the job market. It's a highly complex, highly dynamic situation. When all is said and done, however, you'd probably rather have our kind of age composition makeup than what we find in Europe or Japan, where people are getting very old very quickly. So perhaps a final observation from your side, Doris?
I'm excited about the youth. My engagement with the younger cohorts show that they are extremely optimistic about their ability to actually make positive contributions. And that is what we need. For people to believe that they can actually do something, they want to do something.
Yeah.
So I'm excited.
Yeah, young people are full of energy and vigor and they entrepreneurial by nature and innovative. We just need to allow them to harness all of that.
So I'm excited.
So, as we wrap this up, it's June. In a few days' time, it is Youth Day. At the risk of using a cliche, the future of the country rests in the hands of young people.